The biggest buzz in farming at the moment is the price of wheat. Global wheat prices have just gone through the biggest weekly rise in 18 years, and it's all to do with weather. Dry weather in America, especially in Kansas, droughty conditions in parts of Canada, and lack of rain through Russia and in areas around the Black Sea has made traders skittish, to say the least. And on top of this, we have a falling Aussie dollar. So ASX futures lifted strongly last week. January WA wheat jumped $26, and there was a nice lift in the east as well. Those prices are perhaps the first genuine selling opportunity for the coming crop. But Pro Farmer has reminded us of the 2007 season where this price was seen as good selling. But crop failure saw the price jump to $400 come harvest time. Such are the perils of selling forward. Cash prices also lifted, at least for wheat. The rise was $9, while canola was steady and sorghum managed to hang on to the gains of last week. In Chicago, contrasting forecasts weighed heavily on prices. World wheat stocks at the end of this year should be 15 million tonnes at less than previously tipped, while corn stocks are heading for their biggest tonnage in 3 years. So wheat closed up. Corn dumped 40 cents a bushel, and that soybean price was impacted by order cancellations from China. Now to livestock, where the E. coli scare from the United States has made waves in mainstream media in Australia. But if you check American papers, hardly a squeak. The most important point to make is this. Before the Australian meat left here, it was inspected and passed. When it arrived in America, it was passed by their inspectors, which of course brings into question the actual source of the E. coli. And it's worth mentioning, the Australian meat is shandied with local product before it's sold in America. This issue is, of course, a serious business. The grinding meat market to America is worth close to $800 million to Australian producers, and even the perception of a health scare, let alone any reality, could put that market in jeopardy. Thankfully, as we go to air, there's been no illness reported from the E. coli attributed to the Australian meat. Now to prices, and yarnings were down last week about 13% nationally, and there was some strong competition across most categories. Restockers and exporters were very active. Trade cattle recovered exactly the loss from last week, while cow and feeder cattle prices were firm. Quality was said to be mixed. The Eastern Young Cattle Indicator picked up a fraction to close at $3.67. Now, last week, MLA supplied me with an intriguing graph about carcass yields from Australian cattle. Here are the numbers going way back to 1976, and the yield per carcass was 203 kilos. Look at how steadily it's gone up and up, to the point where last year the average carcass yield in Australia was 287 kilos. That's close to a 40% lift since 1976. Wonderful stuff, and attributed to better genetics and better nutrition. Now the live trade, and the question remains about quota prospects for the end of the year. I'm told the vibes are not good. Prices out of Darwin are much the same as last week, $1.70 and $1.55. Lamb and sheep numbers were also down, and again the cooler weather is impacting on quality, but the numbers counted, and lambs were steady to firm, while that mutton lift has pushed the indicator to its highest in 4 months. To New York for the soft commodities, and no good news for Australian producers. Both cotton and sugar prices headed south. Cotton continued to slide, with traders blaming the toxic and contagious Eurozone fracas, and that sugar prices also reflecting the wider economy. A bright note is a strong sugar buying move from China. Finally, to wool, where traders are citing two major reasons for the wool price slide: economic confidence alongside the Eurozone mess, and the high proportion of cotton and discoloured wool on offer. So the Eastern Market Indicator shed 1.5% to close at 1,104 cents a kilo. That's down 280 cents on this time last year. And that's the Landline check on price.